Well, welcome to the Monday Money Tip Podcast presented by Fully Funded Life. My name is Joe Sangl, joined as always by my co-host, Megan Hibbard. Are you fired up today?
Fired up.
We like
Happy
to start
Monday.
that out saying, are you fired up?
I know. Maybe I should just say no.
It's Monday. We've been having fun. One time you should say no, and it threw me completely off my game. It is the Monday Money Tip Podcast. And so we are working through some tips on Mondays, but you may be listening on a Tuesday, so you can adapt the name of it if you wish. Tell everybody what episode number we're on.
Yes, we are on episode 262, and it is July 10th.
July the 10th. And we're recording these a little early because we're out running around. One of the rules that we have around our offices is there's a guaranteed amount of vacation, but one of the weeks has to be at Christmas. Mm-hmm. But it seems like the rest of the crowd realized that maybe they want another week around July 4th timeframe, or the whole summer. We'll see. But here's what I know. We're working through another theme month.
Yep.
We're doing themes this year. So what's the theme?
Yep. So this month we're talking about some money principles. So if you're just starting out your financial journey, or maybe you're at the top of the fully funded life ladder trying to figure out what's next, these principles can help you. So today we're going to focus on the principle, giving is living.
Yes, it rhymes. And so we're going to try to make the principles rhyme too, because rhyming,
it's fun.
When it's rhyme time, people tend to remember it.
That's right. Kind of like a song. You remember a song way more than you remember.
I mean, people say they hate poetry, but every country song is a poem. Do you know what I'm saying? They all rhyme. Every other ending lyric rhymes. Yeah. I mean, it's sung poetry.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Mm-hmm. It's great. So we've been also researching some jokes as we prepare these to kind of have fun with this. And so you found a giving joke.
Yes.
And so since you found it and you chuckled.
I did chuckle.
I did too. I want you to share it with everybody.
Okay. So our funny today is, I won $3 million in the lottery this weekend. So I decided to donate a quarter of it to charity. Now I have $2,999,999.75.
That's hilarious. I won $3 million in the lottery. I decided to donate a quarter of it. So you immediately think, oh, $750,000. Wow. But they really meant they donated a quarter. 1 quarter, 25 cents. Is that what we describe as giving is living? Pretty sure it falls a little short.
But it's funny.
That's awesome. So, hey, look, if you say, hey, are we going to split the bill? You know what? I'll take a quarter of it and you just throw down a quarter. That'll be fun. There we go. But, we're going to talk about giving is living, and giving is one of those things that is a very unique topic. We grew up in the church world, and there are people that are very leery about giving to church. They are very skeptical. They're cynical. There's a lot of ols there. But here's what I know. Throughout God's word, giving is just, as they say, if love is the noun of the Bible, then giving is the verb. I've heard that said before. And it's really saying, that the most famous verse ever, John 3:16, for God so loved the world that he what? He gave his one and only son, and he gave us that free gift of salvation to any who would call upon his name. It's unbelievable. And so giving is just one of those things that people can be leery about, but yet those who discover the joy of giving, the joy of generosity, they would fully agree that giving is living. And I think it's when you realize that giving is as much about what's happening in your heart as it is for the people that are being blessed by your giving. And so I thought I'd just share, this is a person who has stated that he's not confident there is a God. He hasn't really had faith, but he is passionate about giving. And his name is Warren Buffett. He runs Berkshire Hathaway, and he actually started something called the Giving Pledge. And I think this is just remarkable because I've always said, we're created in the image of God.
Yeah.
And he's the biggest giver ever. And we can't help but deny this giving spirit that's within us. And even Warren can't do it, one of the wealthiest people on the planet. But he made a commitment called the Giving Pledge. But what he said is, I have made extraordinary amounts of money in my life. I've become wildly wealthy. And he's never defined his life by his wealth. He's defined his life by building wealth for others And he particularly likes to build wealth for others who don't like to live opulently, that use their wealth for the betterment of others. And he has said he wants to leave his kids with some money, but not so much that they don't have to work for a living. And so he made a commitment that he was going to give away in his lifetime, and definitely in the next 10 years after he passes away, that 99% of his wealth will be donated to charitable and philanthropic endeavors. I said that very weirdly.
Yeah.
Philanthropic endeavors. And at givingpledge.org, it inspired other people to sign this pledge too. And I encourage all of our listeners to go to givingpledge.org and read his original giving pledge. It mentions why he's doing it, his purpose for it. And then you can see all the people, famous and people you don't even know, but they're people who have signed up to say they're going to give away 99% of their wealth too.
It's wild.
How exciting is that?
Yeah.
I love it. So let's talk about why giving is living. So we collaborated on preparing this.
We did.
So share some reasons why giving is living.
Yep. All right. So the first one is changed focus. So it moves the focus from me to us.
Yeah. So think about that. Like, as you and Jordan have pondered giving decisions, how has that happened for you, that change focus?
Yeah, I think it's easy to just be inward focused a lot of the time. You know, the needs. I mean, obviously we have 3 kids and there's just a lot going on, and we have a dog and we have like house expenses, and there's just a lot of things. And I think you can get really caught up in the day to day of, you know, the bills need to be paid and this needs to happen and this needs to happen. But I think when you take the moment to focus on something else, someone else, a different organization, maybe even paying for the person behind you in line, or, you know, something as easy as that, it instantly changes your focus to somebody else. It instantly changes your focus to a bigger purpose. You know, maybe you're giving to, maybe you're giving to your church. Maybe you're also giving to another organization that's doing ministry or mission somewhere else, and you're able to see the benefit that they're doing. You know, maybe a compassion type organization where you're sponsoring kids, you know, overseas, or, a World Relief, or you're
Samaritan's Purse, who does disaster relief,
or clean water, or there's just so many.
Christmas Child.
There's just so many different things, and it really removes your focus from, you know, your core of the 5 of us to, you know, missionally focused to outward to other people. You know, it's changing that. And I feel like you can't help but have this, like, almost like how exercising gives you like a boost of like endorphins. I feel like it kind of provides that too.
Oh, that's good.
In a way.
That's a really good word picture to think about, that you're exercising that giving muscle.
Yeah.
You know, I think about when we give it, you know, we want to hold on to money, which is, we teach people to hold on money to live a fully funded life. But if you're not careful, that it almost like that money gets a hold of you.
Yeah.
And you move, if you're not careful, it'll be like a closed fist, and you want to be more of a hand open to be able to help people. And it changes that focus. Yeah. So let's talk about reason number 2, why we believe giving is living.
Yeah. So motivation. So it provides energy for our daily work when we know it would help benefit others.
Yeah. And so, you know, that is, you know, one of the reasons that we all work is to produce income. And we know that some of that's going to flow through to bless others. You know, I was just at my son's end of year awards thing. He got honored for being on the AB honor roll all year, so which is a big win for him. But the principal is moving on after this year. He's been there several years at the middle school, and he got to give his little talk, and he was making note that as they were honoring these different kids with different awards, he made a note that said, hey, 2 of them that were up here lost a parent this year.
Oh, wow.
And yet they stayed focused in the midst of great personal tragedy and grief. And he said he was walking away from today having a great eyes wide open moment reminder of, hey, my motivation as a leader in the school district is to serve these students. And hey, we counted a great success that even while they were going through great challenges, the school was able to serve them. And it's that motivation. It swaps it from, you know, you think the kids, you know, they must have the best of situations at home. And that's why, you know, their parents are highly involved in their education. And that's why they get all the, you know, they're the teacher's pet or whatever. but he's like, hey, look, some of these kids thrived in spite of. And so it's motivation.
Yeah.
And so I think the same thing is true for giving. Hey, when you know that your giving is going to go bless other organizations, it'll fire you up to go to work, even when you don't enjoy the work that much that day, or what's on you look at the list and you're like, yeah. And then the one that you see on the item that's like, well, it's going to just remind yourself, giving is living. This is going to help me do this. Changes your motivation.
Yeah. And that kind of goes into the next one. The next one is pushes greed away. So it's difficult to be greedy when you're living a generous life.
Yeah. It pushes away greed. So you mentioned a member of your family in this thing that made me want to ask the question, how is Barkley, the dog? How is he doing? Barkley, the dog.
Yeah, I know. He's doing good.
He's doing great. Should we show a picture of Barkley to everybody?
We can.
If you're watching on YouTube.
He's 85 pounds and has no concept of his size.
Does he have a concept of personal space? Does he
Zero
protect your bubble?
Of personal
okay.
space.
So here's the thing. So, when you think about, just like your puppy, right? And, you want to be generous to him, right? So does he get puppy treats?
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of treats does he get?
It varies. Honestly, a lot of his treats come from grandparents when they buy him treats a lot of the times. Or Jordan really, it's really Jordan's dog. I love the dog too, but in the ranking system, he would rank Jordan as his owner. So sometimes he tries to be ahead of me and I'm like, nope, you are at the bottom of the list. But yeah, Jordan will get him some like the bacon strips or like the
pepperoni,
the like dog
chews the rawhide stuff.
Well, they're like, they look like a bone, but they're like soft and he can eat. I don't know.
They're like a toothbrush? Got like
treats in it.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
I get it.
Joyce.
That's great.
He's not particular.
Yeah, there we go. He's like, just pay attention to me, pet me,
yes,
and give me treats. My dog, Ginger Justice, the golden retriever, Mama didn't like the dog when the puppy came home, but now for some reason treats show up and I didn't buy any of them. And she gives her what's called a toothbrush. It's molded like a toothbrush. It's green. It's
like the greenies.
Apparently helps her breath. Yeah. Well, this morning the box is empty. And so the dog is used to getting this toothbrush every morning. He's been giving her the side eye all mornings. Like, have you forgotten something? Like, I'm over here. But, I think it is interesting just to say, giving to your pet, right? Giving to the neighbor kid, taking hand-me-downs and washing them, folding them up and handing them to someone else. We've all been recipients of that, that simple gift of hand-me-downs that you're never going to use again in your life.
Yeah.
Right. But being able to receive those, what it was like to receive some. Have you ever gotten hand-me-downs?
That's a lot of our kids, what they wear.
Yeah.
From cousins. And
there you go. Yeah. And have you handed some stuff down yet?
I have an attic full of stuff I'm trying to get my sister-in-law. Would you like all of this stuff? Here it is.
So it just pushes away greed. And that's why giving is living. Simple, random acts of kindness, of generosity will fill your day with joyous moments, deep-rooted, deep-seated joy.
Yeah.
And so we thought it would make sense to talk about how to give and be a giver. And we're going to kind of go through these pretty quickly. But, a lot of people just think, what do you mean how to give? I just give money. Yeah. Right. But let's talk about how you can give away money and possessions. Let's talk about different ways to do that.
Yeah. So the main one people think about a lot of times is direct gifts.
Right. You just give it to them. Right.
Here you go.
You can hand them cash. You can Cash App it. You can Venmo it. You can wire them money, Zelle. You can write a check. Right. Okay. So that's direct. But let's talk about the stuff that people don't think about a lot, but allows you to really give a lot.
Yep. So there's estate gifts.
Yes. And so many people don't think they're wealthy, but when you add up the value of the equity of a home, the 2 cars, right, the possessions they have, it can add up to several $100,000 for people. There's their 401k. And so people are able to give gifts even while they're living. And in a lot of cases, it can generate annuity payments to the giver and generate a tax deduction. And so look up these words if that's something that's of interest to you. They're charitable gift annuities, charitable lead trust, and charitable remainder trust. And so an estate planning attorney knows about these. There's some really good YouTube videos on exactly how each of these things work. But this is how a lot of universities function and get their endowments funded. This is how a lot of hospitals, museums, art centers, nonprofit organizations get funded through estate gifts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And there's one more.
Yep. So donor advised funds.
Right. And the National Christian Foundation does a great job with this. We're going to leave a link to this, but you can create your own fund and you can donate to it in a way that's irretrievable, like you're donating it to it. It's in this fund. And then you can direct which nonprofits receive the money out of that fund. But it can allow you to invest those dollars, and it's a deduction as a donation to your donor advised fund. In many cases, see your CPA, of course. So I just want you to think about it. Direct gifts, we kind of know that, but estate gifts and donor advised funds can be great, tremendous ways for you to give in tax advantage and in hugely helpful ways.
Yep.
Now, a lot of people also, you know, especially when you're really busy, it's much easier to throw money at something than the most important, valuable thing that we all have, which is what?
Time.
168 hours a week, right? So let's talk about how to give time.
Yep. So there's like a here and there kind of thing where it's like multiple people, multiple organizations, maybe you're volunteering here and there. Or there's also the opposite of that would be like a deep dive. So maybe like one person or one organization that you're really, really focused on.
Right. And I'm doing that with the Boy Scouts. So my son went into Boy Scouts. He was in Cub Scouts and then he moved over to Boy Scouts. And so I finally said, hey, this is where I'm going to do a deep dive. It allows me to spend that Tuesday night every night with my son. It allows me to see him interacting with friends, and I can help mentor all these young scouts that are growing up together. And we just wrestled through a challenging circumstance. And you know what? I've seen the young children growing up to be young adults as they take accountability for, a less than stellar moment when they decided to get a little off the rails, as young people do sometimes. And that's what the whole organization is about, is raising them up. So that's how I've chosen to devote a deep dive of time. In fact, shortly before this podcast released, I spent a whole week with them driving to Kentucky and spending a week at summer camp. Get very fired up.
There you go.
Yeah. And of course, you've done that with Clayton King's Ministries for how many years for summer camp?
Yeah, it's funny. We were talking about it yesterday and with him. And it's, when I look back, it's been since I was in the 6th grade. So it's like 23, 24 years like of my life. It's wild. Every
summer. And then you stepped into not just a week, you stepped into the whole summer of all the weeks of camp.
Yeah. And then I interned with him for a year, and my husband worked with him for 14. And yeah, it's been wild.
That's amazing. So I would call that a deep dive.
It's been very deep.
Yeah. So, I just want to kind of share a story here. Giving of time is something that you have to be very intentional about. And my bride recently agreed to do a task, and it was a task for a family member that she's like, hey, can you go check on this? I need you to look at it every day. And 5 days later, because all of the complexities of the end of the school year, she's in a Bible study that she's a leader of that takes up a lot of time, and being the permanent Uber driver for the kids back and forth. I said, hey, have you checked on that? And she's like, I have not checked on that. Not once. I haven't even thought about it since I agreed to do it. And it just came that moment that I just wanted to share with everybody. Giving is living, but make sure, especially when it's time, of course, with money as well, that you have the capacity to do so.
Yeah.
Because if you say you're going to give money to an organization, that organization is going to count on that. If you have a pledge that you've made, a financial pledge, or if you've committed time, I want to just make sure we give that caution. Hey, make sure you have the capacity.
Yeah.
So here's the final button up statement. If all we are doing is taking, we can't experience the fullness of life like we can when we are giving. So giving is living. So for our podcast listeners, how are you doing with that? Kind of reflect. It's a moment of reflection. Are you giving the time that you'd like to? Are you giving of your financial resources to the organizations that you're passionate about in the way you would like to? And If not, make adjustments. If so, hey, attaboy, attagirl, way to go. And we'll see you next week at the next Monday Money Tip, where we're going to talk about investing. It's going to be awesome. One of the favorite topics of our listeners, definitely one of my favorite topics. We'll see you all next week. Have a fully funded week.